Hello, my name is K McNeil, and I would like to speak with you about incorporating a program for African American children called Understanding Who You Are. This program would be for African American children and adolescents, and also it would include their families. So I would like to propose a program to be incorporated into elementary and middle schools for African American children. This course will be like a semester mandatory course that teaches youth foundational information about roots and beyond. The program would allow for students to ask questions, get answers about their culture, life situations, and provide structural guidance tailored to each student individually. Of course, it would be age appropriate and it would include privacy. The idea would be to incorporate a way to identify at risk children and provide preventative measures to steer them in the right direction. Continuing on the proposal, the program would include the partnership with the Big Brother, Big Sister Programs of America, Brown Girls Enterprises LLC, Mothers Raising Brown and Black Boys, Brown Mamas, and organizations including partnering fraternities and sororities that are willing to advocate and assist in helping better our youth and communities. The program I would like to incorporate will guide an educational classroom and extend into the homes to help parents, caregivers, and the children to know how to better understand who they are and how to cope with the negative effects of racial bias and discrimination that African American families face. One of the very important areas that I would love to talk to children about for them to understand and learn at an early age is self attributes. What makes you you? Self attributes are things that make you who you are, such as self image, self view. It involves how you see yourself and not as how the world sees you. Self characteristics involves also how you see yourself versus how someone else sees you. Your outside characteristics, your features, the things that you love about yourself. So we need to teach children how to love who they are. Love if they have a smaller nose. Love if they have big ears. Love who they are in how they were made. That's important to see the benefits of it instead of the negative things. As children, we find negative things to see in ourselves because we allow other people to define who we are. So if we flip that around and teach our children how to appreciate those things and how they were made and how they were grown, how they were born, then I think it would really change their view of how they see themselves and learn that it's important how they view themselves versus someone else. The other area that I would like to talk to children about is self-respect, and that includes how you treat and value yourself. Because self-respect, whether do you take care of your skin, do you take care of your hygiene, that's all included in respecting yourself. It's not so much as respecting someone else. Yes, you don't want to be offensive with body odor and things of that nature, but how you respect yourself. How do you treat yourself? Do you get enough rest at night? Do you try to eat a nutritious meal? Do you try to eat your vegetables? Things like that are all important in self-respect because it makes a child who they are. One of the areas that I would love for a child to have the opportunity to learn about at an early age instead of how I did in college. I don't remember it being discussed about how you identify with yourself. That's something that's really important in the age that we live in now, for it to be discussed at an earlier age instead of when a person is older and going through different things. This would include knowledge of what a person self identifies with. It includes things like gender identity, gender roles, sexual preference, self values, self morals, and beliefs. All of it would be age appropriate, of course, being that it would start at an early age, and it would provide protection and privacy, which would be discussed and included with parents, caregivers, and children. It would be explained about what things could be shared um, within the setting, and if there were anything that needed to be shared privately, that it would be done so with a grown up and someone that was um, identified to be a safe place to share. Your identity also includes your ethnic identity, your age, your health status, and identifying your roots. To know where you came from is to know a lot about yourself, your culture, and things of that nature. So we would help children peel the onion, is what I say, to find out where did they come from. That's important to know. In my research, I found a very important model to look at as far as racial identity. So I use the multidimensional model as a guide to something that I would like to incorporate with children in a classroom. Number one is the salience, the importance of race. Number two is the centrality, which defines what race you most identify with. Three is the ideology, the importance of African descent, minority oppression, Black people from the rest of other nationalities, similarities from one person to another. Those are things that are important for children to know and to learn, because if they never discuss these things, they'll never know that we have more things that we're similar in than not. Also, the regard, how one feels about how they fit into a private group or private community groups, or what makes them feel important. Teaching this in a classroom early on has many benefits to our children. So it can be incorporated, but we have to introduce it to them so that they can have a better understanding of things prior to going through things and trying to figure it out on their own. This is one of the areas that I really love. Um, and I would love to incorporate a classroom of children talking about this, because it's something that they are very familiar with, and it's kinship and family. What make us kinfolk? That's what we call it, kinfolk. We kin. So what makes us kin? In African American families, there comes a time where there are certain things as a parent of a Black child that has to be relayed and taught to our children before they experience racial injustice and racial discrimination for themselves. It's important to talk about these things early on and have them being prepared. So, so we have to explain different situations to them so they'll know how to face it and what to do, just to kind of prepare them. You know, in older generations, our ancestors, the older people would pass down things in the family so that each generation would know. So I would tell someone something, one of my children something, they would tell their children, and it would just carry on. And that's what we call family. Some families have additional people that they have included in, of course, but this is a discussion that children need to be free and able to talk about, because everybody's family do not look the same, but we all have some type of family. Kinship and families lead to neighborhoods and communities. In the African American neighborhoods, it's been known to stick together with one another. It's important to be able to trust someone in your own community, whether it be a leader in the church, someone in an organization that visits your community, someone that comes out to give assistance. There are a lot of food banks and things of that nature that come to different communities and hand out things to help families. The history of African American families standing together and fighting for what's right, and including, it actually included long marches over things like the Edmund Pettus Bridge in 1965, organizations such as Black Panthers, NAACP, the National Council of Negro Women, among countless others that have stood in a gap to help African American families fight for what's right. So our children need to know this information. They need to understand that they come from a long line of people that who have stood for bettering our families, bettering our neighborhoods and communities, try to get resources in to help our communities grow and be healthier and have the resources that they need. Religion and spirituality. This is something that I feel that is important for us to include and get our children to talking about. We need to see how they feel about religion and spirituality. The role of the Black church has been to encourage and uplift the community. It provides positivity and encouragement to people and their families. The Black church helps by providing families with aid, struggling with health concerns, drug addiction, alcohol, things of that nature. It's been our safe place where we can go to help deal and cope with things that to help reduce stress on life, day-to-day issues. The Black church is very supportive in helping others, um, not only just the Black community, but other people as well, promoting good health and things of that nature. Researchers have used different scales, and they've been willing to help participate in measuring how religious beliefs and practices how they view religion, how it shapes our lives, values and morals and things of that nature. Um, the research has proven that it provides spirituality provides guidance and helps relationships to grow stronger, and it just helps how we deal and cope and get and find guidance to help deal with different things that we face as being African Americans. So just showing our children that a we have always had church, we've always had religious means to kind of help us cope. But I would like to know how children feel about it. What do they think about it? We need to include them in the conversation. Some of the ending questions that I have would be, how do you view yourself on values, morals, and beliefs? What do you know and believe about yourself? What is true about you? How do you exemplify that you treat and value yourself? Provide examples. Is it important for you to belong into a certain group of people in the community or organization? If so, why? Explain. How has your identity changed or developed over time? How would you identify your heritage to African American youth to explain what makes you proud of your heritage? Let them know. They need to hear from us what makes us proud to be Black. Has there been an organization that inspired you when you visited their community or their church? How can local organizations help to increase the positivity for young African American youth? That's kind of in your opinion. How do you see that that could help? How do you view your neighborhood and or your community? What would you like to see implemented in your communities to promote growth in the education of Black children? Hi, thank you for listening to my presentation on how I would incorporate a program for understanding who you are. My name is K McNeil, and have a wonderful day.